This week in Grace's Girls Club, someone I'm pretty excited for you to meet. I want you to meet Dr. Quanda Stevenson. Dr. Stevenson, welcome. It's so great to have you here.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Dr. Stevenson, tell us your title, the company you work for, and a little bit about your role.
As she stated, I'm Dr. Quanda Watson Stevenson. I am a full professor and program director at Athens State University in criminal justice, juvenile justice studies, child advocacy, forensics, homeland security, and pre-law. Basically, I teach in all of the fields for the programs and minors that I supervise. I also conduct research, write research articles, and present at research conferences, and I supervise a crime lab.
Oh my goodness, how incredibly cool. You are so accomplished.
Thank you.
That is a wide breadth of knowledge. So, walk me through your day to day, Dr. Stevenson. How do all of those things kind of mesh together?
Okay, so as I mentioned, a crime lab, we had the great honor of opening up the crime lab about a week or so ago on campus, officially opening the lab. And the lab is called a case lab. And the CASE acronym stands for Crime Analyzation, Simulation, and Experimentation Lab. And so in this lab house, we have an opportunity as faculty to provide simulations and experimentations and analysis of mock crimes and criminal cases. So basically, we prep the lab and we create mock cases and simulations that we want students to learn hands-on techniques. And through these mock cases, we teach students and professionals about criminal cases, forensics, crime scene investigation, cyber criminology, child abuse and neglect, so they can learn and train best practices in the field on how to handle these cases so they are properly prepared and trained to do the job, basically workforce development. And so that's one aspect of my job, working in the lab. Another one is teaching. I also teach a variety of courses in those academic fields that I mentioned a few moments ago. And I write research articles and conduct research. And we're actually hoping that the case lab will provide other further opportunities for research and development where we can publish articles and research from that lab as well. On top of that, I advise students, I grade. I am a typical educator, so we basically are always assisting students, mentoring, helping students, helping in the community, and teaching. So it's a lot.
That is a lot, but it sounds like you're making quite an impact. So the case lab, that's incredibly cool. Are you all kind of pioneers in that? That's not something that I've heard of before at a university. Are you kind of groundbreaking with that technology and with that element?
Yes. As a matter of fact, this is the only independent lab house in the North Alabama area. Some other colleges and tech schools and community colleges have some aspect of a mock simulation. It might be a vehicle, it might be a room or space, but we have an entire house. And this house allows us to set up scenarios and simulations as if regular citizens are at their home. So we can set up each room, bedrooms, kitchen, baby room, family room, dining room. We can use all of that in the scenarios and the cases so students can get a real hands-on experience. Experiential learning is what we call it, on how to interact when they arrive. Say you are serving a warrant at someone's house, or you are going to a house to investigate, so you get that hands-on experience of that home environment. And we're loving that opportunity to provide that for our students and for professionals in the field.
I bet you are. Well, congratulations on that lab opening. And as in every field, the real world experience is really a lot of times what grows you and what helps you take what you've been learning and really apply it. So I'm so excited that your students have that. I bet they are going to be so much better for that experience.
Yes, they are very excited. We have already started teaching classes and simulations in that lab, and they are learning. They're excited. You can see their face light up when they discover a new technique, when they analyze. They're thinking beyond the textbook, and that's what I always tell my students. I know we have textbooks to lead and guide us and give us the fundamentals and foundations, but think beyond that. and it allows them to let the case come to life for them. It comes alive. So they're loving it.
I bet they are. I'm so glad we have this right here in North Alabama. So, criminal justice, right? Sometimes overlooked as a STEM field. I have several family members that are heavily involved, so I know for a fact that that's not true. Criminal justice very much so is a STEM field. But for those who might not be as familiar, walk me through which aspects in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, you think you use most on a daily basis.
Okay, so you're exactly right. I get friends and families asking me this question all the time. What does STEM have to do with criminal justice? And I have to answer this question for them. And I say, basically, STEM, and I like to say STEAM because I add arts in it as well. But basically, STEM allows us to answer basic questions of who, what, why, where, when, and how in criminal justice and forensics. So basically, over the past 20 years, as the field of criminal justice and techniques for committing crimes have evolved, we have evolved in regard to scientific methods and approaches and techniques for solving and collecting evidence. And so, as criminals have become more clever, we in the criminal justice field have to do so as well. We use more modern techniques for investigating, preventing crimes, apprehension of criminals, case evidence techniques for have improved, and the whole entire field of STEM has improved. So basically, with the acronym STEM, science, in regard to science, we use biology and chemistry as forensic scientists to collect, examine, and analyze and assess evidence for criminal cases and sometimes for civil cases as well. We use science and products and techniques related to the science field for detection and prevention of criminal behavior. For example, DNA analysis, toxicology, ballistics, drug rehab centers. In regard to the T for technology, technology has allowed us to use technical devices and evidence and equipment in solving crimes and apprehension as well. For example, GPS tracking and monitoring, which most people call it ankle bracelets.
Mhm.
We track some of our individuals who have offended in regard to giving them an opportunity to serve out their punishment in our community, and we track them through GPS tracking. We also use geo mapping. We look at maps and we determine hot spots in regard to our policing. And they look at areas where we have high concentrations or saturations of crimes that occur. So we know best practices on how to go into that community and try to reduce crime in those areas and resources that are needed to help in those areas as well. Think about drones. Drones, we use drones in criminal justice now to surveil, defend, locate, assist citizens. And in some states across the US now, we're using drones in order to detect people who are violating speeding laws and who are having violations of speeding. So watch out because sometimes it's not an officer, a physical officer, but it could be a drone that's hovering over that's detecting your speed and then you receive a ticket in some states. And then body cameras. We are using body cameras now in regard to safeguarding citizens, documenting interactions between police and our citizens. So body cameras have come a long way, and we are using them more and more every day in regard to policing and other agencies related to criminal justice. We also use computer forensics, cyber criminology, and even in our courtrooms now, we use um, closed caption TVs or monitors, and sometimes the judge is talking to some alleged offenders, and they're not even in a courtroom. They're actually still being held in prevention or preventive detainment. And so we want to be able to use these technologies and know more about them, how we can use them to record and document. So um, the last acronym, letter of the acronym is M, and that's for mathematics. So we're using mathematics a lot in regard to STEM in criminal justice as well. As I mentioned, data analysis. We use statistical data and data in regard to coming up with conclusions and correlations of how to solve crimes. So mathematics is very important to us in regard to criminal justice as well. And then I mentioned A for arts. In regard to art, and I know people probably wondering, what does art have to do with criminal justice? Well, in regard to STEM, it has a lot to do with it. When we're doing reenactments of cases, or even when we're investigating cases, you would be surprised at how important lighting is, and recording the evidence, such as photography. You have to look at evidence from different angles. You have to make sure that you get every piece of information and evidence possible, so you can look at it after that evidence is stored away. You want to be able to look at those photographs and be able to detect and find information and put together different facts of the case. We also use it for documentation, for scanning, and but basically 3D lighting, fluorescent lights. We use those different types of lighting in order to lift and recover and look at certain pieces of evidence and fingerprints, such as fingerprints. So it's very important.
It absolutely is. There's a whole lot of different aspects that go into your field, and it's great how you explained all of them working together in those little ways. I'm really glad that you were able to offer that explanation. So let's say I'm a young student, maybe a young woman, and I think, okay, that was pretty cool. Maybe this is something I want to do. Walk me through the type of schooling that you went through to get to where you are today.
Okay. So I received a bachelor's of science in political science. I received a bachelor of arts in criminal justice, and I received and earned a master's in criminal justice slash criminology. And then I had the wonderful opportunity and idea to create my own interdisciplinary doctorate. I had a vision and an idea of a compilation of different academic fields that I wanted to put together to reach my ultimate goal, which is what I'm doing today as an educator, as a professor, and working with STEM. So I was a forward thinking thinker even before my time. So about 20 years ago, as an undergrad, I looked at the idea of, um, I was really hurt with the fact that minorities were more so looked at as criminals in our system, in criminal justice system, and they were being detained and locked up in our correctional facilities. So I wanted to come up with methods and policies and laws that and educate others on prevention, and how we can reduce minorities from being in our correctional system, and more so on the criminal justice professional side. I wanted more minorities as judges, as attorneys and lawyers. I wanted more minorities and children who could educate and teach and learn more about our criminal justice system for a more positive approach. I wanted to reduce children from going through the school to prison pipeline. And so that touched me in my heart. And so I put those combinations of fields together, which were in my interdisciplinary doctorate, education, administrative law, higher ed um, law, public administrative law, sociology, criminal justice, human development, and ed psych.
Wow. You're right. A forward thinker to say the least. And I love that you did that. That's becoming more common. Kind of creating your own doctorate is a thing now. And that's something that we deal with a lot in meteorology. Certain specialties folks are choosing to look at that there isn't already a program in place for. And I think it's great that you touched on that for the folks who are watching this thinking, oh, I would love to get my doctorate. I love this avenue, but there don't seem to be a line of classes that really follow that. You've just opened up their minds saying, okay, but if you work hard and you can show the path you would take, you can do this for whatever your field might be.
Exactly. You can create your own field. And I promise you, I had a lot of professors and educators who um, basically told me, this might not be a good idea. You sure you want to do this? But I was thinking more so 20 years later, which we're here now, 20 years later.
Right.
And so I was thinking about the combination of courses and fields that I could put together, and didn't quite know that it was going to directly correlate with STEM.
Hmm.
But I was ready for it. When STEM came on board and we started utilizing STEM over the last 10, 15 years in the Southeast, and now we have majors and minors in STEM related fields such as forensic science and crime scene investigation. So, again, be a trailblazer. Don't be afraid to look at other academic fields. I think it makes you more well rounded, and it allows you to appreciate other academic fields and approaches when you're working with STEM related jobs.
Absolutely. And going back to your institution, let's say someone came behind you and they're interested in the very same thing. They can say, well, we've actually had someone already do this. Why don't you follow in her steps? She walked so you could run, you know?
Exactly. And I think I was the second or third person at the University of Alabama where I received all of my degrees to actually create an interdisciplinary doctorate.
Wow.
And in some regards, after the years teaching there, I had several people come to me and say, "Hey, can you help me design my proposal to the graduate school for my interdisciplinary master's or undergrad and even PhD?" And so, what I would say is don't limit yourself.
Mm.
Always think about the different aspects and fields that you would like to study and you want to do, and don't be afraid to do more than one field. Don't enclose yourself in a narrow aspect of what you're thinking your field is going to be, because in 10, 20 years in the future, it might end up being exactly the field that you wanted or the concept that you were looking at when you were in undergrad or in high school even.
Dr. Stevenson, you are just hitting on so many key points. I'm so excited for all those that are going to get to hear this interview. I really think that your words are going to be such pieces of wisdom for them to take. Well earned, Dr. Stevenson, definitely well earned. But talk to me a little bit back to your job now. As an educator at Athens State, what would you say is the best part of your role?
Oh my goodness. The best part of my role as an educator is when my students graduate and I get to see them earn their degree, walk across the stage, smile and wave at me. Some smile and wave as they're walking across the stage or when they come around where the faculty are seated. And that just warms my heart to know that some of them I had to give them a little tough love and had to push them. But at the same time, they're so excited and happy and with their families and they're waving, wanting to take pictures. And another exciting opportunity for me approach is when they achieve that job or promotion that they've always wanted, and they tell me that that's their goal. I'm coming here to earn this job or get this certain job or this certain degree. And when they achieve their goal, I'm very proud and pleased. A lot of them contact me after sometimes 5, 10 years and say, "Hey, I'm now working as a federal agent. I'm in this agency that I wanted. I got this promotion. I'm a chief of police now. I'm an FBI, ATL." So I love to hear those stories of my students succeeding because when they succeed, I succeed as well. And it's kind of like taking little pieces of me with them. And when I get to hear about those success stories for them, I feel like we made it. We achieved. I also am always elated when I'm in the lab or a classroom and we're talking about certain topics or concepts, and I can see the students' eyes just light up. I can tell that they're learning and they're enjoying it. That's always good for me to see and to know as well. So I love that aspect of my job as well.
Well, you are the real double whammy. I mean, incredibly brilliant, but also incredibly passionate. That is a great combination.
Thank you.
So, if that was the best part of your job, I'm sure it also comes with a handful of challenges. What are some of the challenges that you have to deal with and problem solve to resolve at work every day?
Well, as we know, research over the past 20 years has shown that we unfortunately lack a lot of females in the STEM related fields and jobs.
Mm,
And so, as a female in not only a STEM related field, but in criminal justice,
mm.
we still lack a number of females representing in the field of criminal justice and political science. And so, in that brings challenges because a lot of times my feminine voice, I have to project my voice. I have to, of course, I always act professionally, but I have to basically get in with the guys. I have to let them know that I am just as experienced and I am knowledgeable and I am there to participate on the team. And so that's the challenge, not always having another female in the room. Matter of fact, in my program in my department right now, I am the only female And so, a
Wow.
lot of times when I go and present at conferences, I'm the only female, and I'm surrounded by police officers and FBI and ATF, and I'm the only female, or it might be just one other female in the room. And so, it's it's a challenge to look at different approaches and problem solve when you have a unique approach or a unique idea that hasn't been heard before. But I will tell females, make sure that you use your voice, use your knowledge, and you share it. That's what you're in the room for. When you get a seat at the table, represent all of us as women. Let them know, let everyone know in the room that you're there because you are an expert.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree. You know, my dad told me growing up often, he said, there are going to be rooms that you sit in that just because you're a woman, you're going to have to work twice as hard just to get in that room and then twice as hard to show that you belong there. But once you do, everybody else in that room is going to respect you for the rest of the time that you stay there. And while that's not the case in every room, it has been in the past, but it's so gratifying once you never try to brag, you never try to be arrogant, but once you're just knowledgeable about your craft and folks respect you for being there, it's so wonderful to know that you earned that for yourself and you get to say, yeah, I do belong here.
Yes, and in these male dominant fields, as I mentioned before, another challenge that I have found through research and talking with other females in the field is that we sometimes are paid less for the work that we do as academicians, as faculty or researchers or scientists. We are not always paid at the same level or same scale as our male counterparts. So that is also another challenge. And sometimes we are not awarded a lot of the grants and research opportunities or labs in this case. In order to operate those or supervise and manage those labs. So I'm very fortunate to work at an institution at Athens State University where they gave me an opportunity. They heard my vision and they gave me space and an opportunity to open and manage the lab on campus.
Absolutely, absolutely, and definitely speaks to your passion, but also to Athens State as well, very much so. I read a statistic the other day that said women in STEM earn 28% more on average than women who work out of STEM. So that was a new statistic for me, but I thought it was fairly interesting.
It
So,
is. Whenever you incorporate science or STEM in regard to your field, then you increase your pay. So that's an incentive to all of the females who are listening. If you enjoy STEM and you have a STEM related field, you can receive about, like the statistics said, 20 to 25% more, or should receive 20 to 25% more of an increase in salary.
absolutely, and well earned at that. So you can tell me if you feel like you've already answered this. I know you've had so many wonderful nuggets of wisdom in and out, but just quickly before you go, I know how busy you are. If you had an overarching message to young people in general, young women specifically, who want to join the STEM workforce today, if you haven't already touched on it, what would your message to them be?
Well, I have several messages. One is that um, I hear when I talk to several females in the field, or specifically students and people in the community, when I go to speak at certain engagements and mentorships, um, when I talk to them about STEM, they kind of shy away from it. And the word itself kind of makes them think, oh, I have to be a scientist. I have to be in technology. I have to be good with computers. I have to be an engineer, or I have to be good with math. And what I'm telling young ladies is that that is fine. If you are good, you're a math whiz, or you're good at engineering or computation or coding, is wonderful. But what I would suggest, you look at the STEM field from an approach of what you want to do in the future. Whatever your passion is, whatever you're passionate about, whatever you like doing, then match that up with STEM. Because every aspect of our life right now, every job, that we have in a field. You use STEM in some regard to that job because
Yeah.
science, technology, engineering, and mathematics is included in basically our whole daily lives. So look at it from that approach. And if you do, then you can enjoy what you're doing and incorporate STEM with it, or find methods to use STEM with that job instead of just focusing directly on STEM and maybe allowing that to make you shy away from actually doing STEM related fields and work. Some other advice that I would give females is, the phrase think outside the box.
Mm.
Well, the phrase that I like to use is there is no box. Don't let anyone box you in or you box yourself in. If there is a box, let it be because you created the box.
Mm.
You created the idea, the concept, the product, the technology. So I would also say to young women, always use mentors. Find someone in the field that you're interested in and allow them to give you expert knowledge and guidance along the way for what works for or worked for them, the best practices for them to get to where they are. And I would say this as well. As a female, always have female mentors, but at least have one male mentor so you can always get a different perspective, that male perspective on that job or with that field. And I had a male mentor, and he was very valuable to me as a male faculty member because he gave me different approaches. Again, we talked about there's always a lack of females in criminal justice and STEM related fields. And so for him as a male to take me under his wing and to show me different approaches for research, taking me to conferences, those things that he did to instill in me as an expert in the future, what it takes to be in this field, it was very valuable. And I appreciate him for that.
Those are such great points. You are the first person on Grace's Girls Club that has said, don't pursue STEM, pursue what you want to pursue and find a way to work STEM into it. I think that is an invaluable piece of advice.
Yes, it is. And that's exactly what I did. If I went in academically as a high school student or undergrad thinking I'm going to be a STEM professor or I'm going to teach some STEM related, I probably would have shot away from it as well and dodged it. But but as an academician, as someone who's always been able to meet challenges and do well academically, I was thinking in the future, and that's another approach I would tell young ladies. I always think in the future because when I told my dissertation committee that I wanted to focus on school violence and reducing school violence and school resource officers, the use of school resource officers, they looked at me and said, at the time, school violence is not on the rise. It's not many incidents. It's only been three at this point nationwide. And so I told them, but I can see in the future that this is going to increase. And these are some reasons why.
Hmm.
So don't be afraid to, again, be a forward thinker. Think ahead 10, 20 years. A product or a concept or an idea that you're writing down in your notebook right now might be a technique or a product that we need to solve a disease or a crime or approach to save our lives in the future. So I have a lot of notebooks from high school all the way up to now where I write down ideas and research and doodle. So don't be afraid to doodle, young ladies. Doodle away. Write, sketch. Think of ideas. And if someone tells you that's not needed right now or it's not a good idea, keep working.
Mm-hmm.
Because I promise you, in the next 10, 20 years, it might be just the thing that saves us.
Oh my goodness, I absolutely love it. Dr. Stevenson, how am I going to bring this down to a minute and a half? I want to take your whole video and air it. Well, Dr. Quanda Watson-Stevenson, thank you so much for being here. Athens State University, invaluable information, so much great advice. I think I'm going to go back and rewatch this just for myself. Welcome officially to Grace's Girls Club, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much. And it was an honor just to be selected as one of the women in STEM in this field to to be your interviewee today. I really appreciate it. And if you all with Grace's Girls Club need anything at any point, anytime, contact me. I am there to help.
You are so sweet. I am going to keep that in mind. Well, thank you and have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.